Okay. Tell her to take her time. Everybody else are students of ours, and we're very excited to learn from you, Lisa. Thank you very much for being here.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. So
Well,
I'm
I'll send it over to you.
passing it over. Okay, she passed it over. She's like, here you go. Here's the mic. Good morning, everyone. As introduced, I'm Lisa Chastain. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my PowerPoint just to guide conversation, keep me on track because I can get off track. And for those of you who are visual learners, you have stuff to look at. So I'm Lisa Chastain. I'm your guest this morning, and I plan to spend, close to an hour with you, depending on conversation. I put some content together that I thought would be really valuable for you today, thinking about where you are in your lives and embarking in new careers. Some of you in the hospitality industry, of all industries right now, I think this will be really, really valuable information for you. I am a graduate of UNLV. I graduated in 2003 with my degree in communications from the communication studies from the College of Urban Affairs. Right after that, I got to work at UNLV. So I spent from 1998 to 2011 at UNLV in one way, shape, or form. At first, I was an undergraduate recruiter, and then I climbed up the ranks to the Honors College, the UNLV Honors College, where I was an academic advisor, and then I became the director of advising for the Honors College. So I'm very familiar with your academic work. I had a ton of hospitality students that I advised in the Honors College because, as you might know, as an honors student, you have your own major, but then you also take honors classes. And my first love and heart is with advising and coaching and mentoring students exactly where you are, whether you're a freshman or you're graduated. My first passion and love was that. When I left UNLV, it was to take on a new adventure as a stay-at-home mom. I had a 3-year-old at the time, and my husband, my now ex-husband, but my husband at the time was the general manager of a Wolfgang Puck restaurant. So he had joined Wolfgang Puck, and he was working like crazy, and I was working like crazy. So something had to give, and I said, "Hey, let me see what else is out there for me." I left UNLV in 2011, and for a few years, I stayed home and did some soul searching. So for those of you, I think that was you, Diana, we're like, I don't know yet. You will figure it out. And ultimately, you may not end up in hospitality forever. Who knows? There's lots of twists and turns that we take as professionals. And I think that part of being here is having mentors to share those experiences with you along the way. When it came to me getting back to work, I realized that I love to work. I love the world of work. I love my son, who is now 13. I said 12, but he just turned 13. I had to think about where I wanted to make my next impact. And it was always advising. It's always been advising. I love coaching. I love mentoring. It's who I'm born to be. And I had a friend at the time who was a financial advisor. And when I really thought hard about it, I said, because of my own money struggles, because of what I know and what I didn't know about money, I didn't grow up around money. My dad was a stagehand. He was Siegfried and Roy's crew. He helped birth Siegfried and Roy into the Mirage from the frontier. So service industry was pretty much all I knew. And I was like, wow, we all have journeys with money. And today I want to talk about money because for me, becoming a financial advisor, failing miserably as a financial advisor, it's okay, I can tell you I failed for a lot of reasons. Ultimately, I think it's what led me here as a money coach. I own and operate my own company called Millennial Consulting. I wrote a book. As you can see, we're in college, we can say the word shit. And I wrote a book to inspire young women in particular, but guys, I think this will be super relevant to you as well, to say, hey, earlier the better. Let's get our finances together as soon as we can, because time is on your side as a young person. And I'm speaking that message all day long in the media. I'm speaking it to my clients. However, I can speak the message and certain things that we're going to talk about today. I coach and mentor young people from 18 years old all the way up to 70. And this information, no matter how young or old you are, is relevant. And you would be surprised in thinking for yourself what you know or what you don't know about money. You'd be surprised how many people don't know a lot about money and don't raise their hand and say, hey, I need help, or hey, I have questions. So I want to start the conversation with all of you today. Please use the chat function. Chat if you have questions, raise your hand, give me some love. I love feedback. I'm a speaker. I like to be on stages. This is my stage today. So I would love for this to be as interactive as possible. No question is a silly question when it comes to money, because there's a lot that I didn't know before I had to educate myself and spend a lot of time getting to know about money. So with that, we'll jump in. My goal for today is to talk about 3 things: how you can start to gain control and clarity of your money, no matter how much of it you have today, whether you're living off of student loans, whether you have your first job. Many students in the hospitality College of Hotel Administration have jobs already. How many of you already have a job working in the hotel industry, or did before COVID, right? Those are coming back. I have a hand raised. Maybe you're just clapping your hand, I think.
I think I was just raising it with I was volunteering to the answer of that. Sorry.
Oh, okay. We'll keep rolling. If you have, we'll get interactive in a minute. I want to talk about what a wealthy person's mindset is. So how many of you want to actually build wealth someday? You're getting your degrees, you're investing in yourself, right? You want to get jobs and you want to have wealth, right? I know you do. That's why you're so heavily in yourself right now. And then some baby steps on saving and investing, because this is the best time to learn about little steps that you can take to start building that wealth today. Sound good? And I can't see all of you because I'm trying to manage both the screen and you. So it would be helpful if you do have a thought or a question, or you just want to say, yes, that's me, I totally get it, then use the chat function so I can stay in touch with you there as well. All right, so those are some things we're going to talk about. First, though, I want to hear from you. What is important about money to you? Why is money important to you? And go ahead and, take turns, pop on.
Money is important to me, just because of freedom, like freedom of time, freedom to do the things you want in life, freedom to be able to support your family, not be limited by debt or, inability to, pay for education.
Yep. Freedom. If that resonates with you in the chat box, just say me, that's me, right? Everybody wants freedom. What else? Why else is it important?
For me, it's my voice. Whatever I give my money to is what I'm supporting. I don't want to. I'm working on getting out of the bank I'm with because they support oil funding and oil pipelines. And I don't want my money going to a company that does those kind of actions. So it's in alignment with my values and who I am.
Totally. Being aligned, knowing that your dollar votes, right? That you support companies by what you buy, where you buy, how you buy. Absolutely. I love that. Why else is it important? Maybe I got you thinking, right? Like, gosh, I don't know. Why is it important to me? Some people, when I talk to them, they say because of their family. I've done this talk at UNLV to other college age students, and they say that one student in particular shared that she wants to be able to bring her mom to the United States from Japan. And she teared up saying that money was important to her so that she could give her family a better life. How many of you resonate with that? Someday, if you don't have kids yet, or your parents, being able to provide for other people and take care of other people. Susanna says me. Yeah. There's so many reasons that money's important. And I think that in a capitalistic society, it's easy to say it's not important. Like you reject the notion that it is potentially. But for so many reasons, and especially for the reason that you're here today, is that you're investing in yourself to invest in your future. And money is the one thing that connects all of the decisions that you're making every single day. And so in my heart, I don't think it's important from a let's hoard it and all become billionaires. I think it's just important so that you're present for yourself about why it really is important to you so that you can get on the path today, knowing that you're making those aligned choices like you were talking about, aligned in where your dollars are going and aligned in how you're building yourself, your own future. What do you need savings for? What do you need savings for? What are things that why would that be important?
It's like an emergency fund, a safety net.
Safety net. Boy, we sure did learn about that this year, didn't we?
Yeah.
So many Americans didn't have a safety net, and it was a disaster for them this year. Why else are savings important?
For the future, if anything happens, you don't have to struggle in there.
Yep, for your future. In my world, I think that especially for your generation, the word retirement doesn't resonate anymore. You don't really see yourself retiring. But how many of you would like to have a work optional lifestyle? That you have the option to work if you didn't want to, right? Yeah, totally, Jaslyn. You'd like,
That's every one of you.
yeah, everybody, right? Well, if I didn't have to work, what are the amazing things that I could be doing, right? So absolutely. So many reasons savings is important. How many when the world backs up, when the world opens back up, how many of you would like to travel again? Would you like to have money set aside for that? Heck yeah, me, Valerie says. What I know is when you're not in a conscious conversation with your finances, when you aren't actively educating yourself about your finances and aren't actively working toward learning savings habits, learning the difference between good debt and bad debt, which we'll talk a little bit about today, that you end up not having the resources to do the things that you want to do, like travel or have a work optional lifestyle, because you haven't been intentional with it, not because you haven't made great money, right? So today, hopefully this just sparks that conversation with all of you as a group. You can come back to this conversation together and say, okay, how are we being intentional with our funds? How are we being intentional with the money that we plan to make? How are we getting out of debt? Travel is the one thing that I see a ton of my clients going into debt for because they're not saving for it. So that's why I wanted to kind of plant that seed. It is important that we want to have savings for a lot of different reasons. Okay, so time of truth. How would you describe your own relationship with money? If anybody feels vulnerable enough to share, what would you say is your relationship with money today?
It's kind of hard to express. I mean, I don't really know exactly how I feel. I mean, me personally, like, I think it's kind of ridiculous that so you need money to be able to, essentially live in life, to experience the finest things in life. You need a lot of money. And, I mean, it's all perspective, right? Like the simple things are what's important as well. But at the end of the day, a lot of people, I do antagonize money a little bit, just because it's that one thing we strive for, but it's also the source of so much greed and corruption. And it's also like influences everything that goes on in the world. So something that's so powerful that has no really intrinsic value besides the value that we give it, it's, I would definitely say antagonistic is probably even though like I do love having it, I don't like the fact that the emotions that surround it, I guess.
Yeah, Brandon, that was super honest. Thank you for sharing. I think another way that I hear that when I do these seminars, how people will describe that is a love-hate relationship, right?
Take money to make money.
Yep, a love-hate relationship. Anyone else want to share? What's your relationship with money?
It kind of deals a lot with what Brandon said. It feels like you set aside all this money for retirement, but what if retirement doesn't get here? What if, I don't know, you die of COVID, and if you did, God forbid, but what if something happens and you save for retirement and you miss retirement and you missed all these good years? So you have to balance like, well, how am I going to enjoy right now? How am I going to save for the future? How do I balance all of that? And then it's just like Brandon said, it's like this love-hate relationship, mostly hate. I'm not really big into capitalism, but it's really like you really have to have this money in order to have this life that you want. But then there's a lot that comes with money, and a lot you have to, like, your values tie into the money, because you give your money to people and then you support those actions, and it's a lot.
It's a lot, and it swirls around, and it's emotional, and it can be heated, and it can be intense. And for all of those reasons, it's so important. Your generation, of any other generation in our time, is going to be a huge disruptor in the capitalism society. I really believe that, in the decisions that you're making, just like you said about alignment and making sure that it's going for good and being intentional with it, it really does matter. And so today it's not to spark a conversation about whether it's good or it's bad. It really is about getting in tune with your own relationship with it. So for the time being, whether it's Bitcoin or whether it's cash, there's still going to be value that you work for. You'll be working, you'll be giving your precious time to an organization or as a business owner, and you'll be receiving compensation for that. And being connected to your relationship with it, working on having a healthy relationship with it, I think is so important, so that you don't create resistance in your life about it. It's more about, okay, how can I use it for my benefit? How can I use it for the benefit of others, right? It's a resource, it's a tool. Awesome shares. And Lily says, Lily, I know you just shared with Brandon. Anybody have a different relationship?
Yeah, sorry, Emily here. So mine's interesting. I've usually said like more money, more problems in a lot of sense. I started working for a big corporation. I worked for Chobani for 7 years. And I always felt pretty taken care of for the most part. I felt that my salary was very fair for the work that I did. I was their corporate chef. It was an amazing, beautiful time. But again, as I earned more money, I seemed to spend more money. And just kind of like what Lily was saying, like, you never know what's going to happen. The next day, I was actually laid off a month ago due to COVID. And it was a huge hit. And while I had saved and done what I thought was smart, you just really never know how much you need until like it's not steadily coming in. So even though I have a severance, I was like, okay, time to buckle down. Like, this is going to be difficult. But I found that once I buckled down, I couldn't believe how much money I was spending while I could count on it coming in. And now that I'm just like working off a severance and my bonus and just like finding my next thing and kind of taking some time, I'm saving so much more money than I was when I was making so much money, if that makes sense. And I think it can be definitely volatile. It can be almost like addictive when you're used to having so much of it. But I think it's very humbling when you kind of like get back to like the basics of what we need versus what we want. So I'm trying to find like a healthier balance.
I love that, Emily. Thank you so much for sharing. That's super vulnerable of you to share. And I know not always easy. And I saw that in every household. I coach households, I coach families, and I help them track their spending and get on the straight and narrow with what it is that they want to be able to create with money. And we saw when we tracked spending for households starting last year, it was like, boop, everybody's spending tanked. And I think a lot of people like you're realized how much they don't need
Yeah.
to live happy and fruitful lives.
Yeah, like I definitely know that I want to get in, take my next step in my career, but it definitely makes you step back and you're like, what's like really important right now? Besides it being like a hit to your ego, like I haven't never been laid off, but again, at least it's everybody's going through something so similar right now. I was in events. I traveled all around the country all year round for 7 years. And at some point it's gotta, time to change, I suppose.
Yeah. For me, I call that a wake-up call in some ways.
Definitely.
That for sure happened to me in my 30s. And I'm so glad it did, because it forced me to get more intentional and meaningful in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Brandon,
don't think I would have ever left on my own accord too. So I think it just kind of, like you said, it's that shift that you need.
Yeah, it was a huge wake-up call this year for a lot of people. Christopher, I saw you take yourself off mute. Did you have something to contribute?
Nope. I said what I was going to say. I just said before, it takes money to make money.
Yeah.
That was it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're going to talk about that earlier. So today I'm going to share a few truths of mine with you. As a self-proclaimed money expert, it really is something that I talk about all day long. And I have the privilege of working with families in their most intimate details of their money. And I get to hear about dreams, and I get to hear about the things that they want. So as I was preparing for today's talk, I thought, gosh, what would be valuable that I know to share with you? And so today I just want to share with a few of those things, and then we can open it up to question and answer. First and foremost, I really believe that you can afford not to invest, especially at this time in your life. And I believe a college education is one of the first ways as young people that we learn how to invest in ourselves. Not everyone has the ability and privilege to go to college, but for those of us who are going to college or have gone through a university experience, it is such a privilege and such an amazing way that you're investing in yourself. Even if you had to take out student loans. How many of you had to take out student loans to be here? Nobody? Amazing.
We provide a full ride scholarship.
Sorry.
ECF.
That's good.
We pay for it all for them.
Amazing.
Not me. I went out of state, had to be fancy.
Oh yeah, true.
And you know, people, well, you're investing in your time, most certainly. It is a huge commitment of time and energy to be here. And if you leave with anything today, it really is the sentiment that from here on out, you cannot afford to not be investing in yourself and in your future. We're going to look at the 3 ways that you can do that. If you don't invest, you could be in the exact place that you are financially today, or in your career, or in your life. And as you invest in yourself, and the 3 ways I'm going to talk about how you invest in yourself, you grow, you stretch outside your comfort zone, new opportunities are presented to you. And so my invitation for you to think about investment as a lifelong experience, whether you're investing your money or in other ways, that it should be something that you're continually doing for yourself. And Emily, your story is exactly that. Even though you're in a cushy job or in a job that you like or is somewhat safe, you never know. And when you continue to invest in yourself and invest in others, opportunities are abundant. I really believe that. So that's one truth. You spoke to this, Lily and Brandon and others, how you invest and where you invest is intimately connected to your ability to have an impact on the planet for as long as you're here. And how you invest your money, how you invest your time, who you invest your time with are all ways that you connect straight to leaving a legacy. And none of you said that explicitly, that you want to leave a legacy on this planet. I know for me, that's why I'm here. That's why I wrote a book. That's why I speak avidly on this topic, because I want to leave a legacy, that somehow I made a difference. And if that's you, then you know that how you spend and how you invest are intimately connected to your impact. Yes? 3 ways we invest. Okay. It's not just money. So for those of you who aren't earning an income yet, some of you talked about how you spend and who you're spending your money with, what companies you're consciously choosing. And that all relates to people. You're investing every single day with people. You're investing your time, your precious time with things that you love, doing things that you love, with people that you love, and with money, right? They're all connected. So when you start to look at your life so aligned in that way, some of you are already on that path, life gets really cool. And then it's not just a conversation about making sure your money's working for you. All the way around, are you living your best life as you define it for yourself? How you spend your time is how you spend your money. You get that, you're smart. You're smart humans. This is an interesting statistic. So I do typically speak to groups of women. I do think that these statistics, no matter if you're male or female, will be valuable for you. And when it comes to impact, this one statistic just jumps out at me, is that women spend 85% of the world's wealth. What does that mean to you when you hear that statistic? Anyone want to share? What comes to mind?
It's like, I'm confused. I'm surprised by that.
What surprises you about it?
Yeah, I don't really know where it would primarily be coming from.
Money's coming. Go ahead.
No. I was just curious because the first thing that comes to mind is really. So I don't really know.
Yeah, that's okay. Maybe it's just oh, wow, that's surprising to me. That could be a thought. Melissa, were you going to share?
I was just going to say, when it's surprising, it's not. I think I do all the shopping for my household. I do it for my kids. I do it for my husband. I do it for my family members. I even do it for my brother. So I get it. I think I definitely spend 85% of our money.
Yep. And this is a global statistic. I think in America, it might be a little different. Could be a little higher even, potentially, right? So women, we've got a lot of control. What if women just decided with that statistic to change our spending, the way that we spent our money? What would be possible, do you think? Speaking to Lily's point, what would be possible if we made different spending choices? Guys, you can answer it too.
I would say change. If we stop supporting companies as women, if we stop supporting companies that don't invest time, invest money, invest the effort in decreasing the wage gap or supporting feminist movements or climate change, then we could affect how they operate as customers, as stakeholders, as employees.
Right. Companies don't exist without people spending on their products or investing as investors. We'll get to investing here in a second. Absolutely. Any other thoughts? What would be different in the world if women changed the way that they spent? I think you hit it pretty well there, Lily, but anything else that you can think of? Healthier foods, maybe? We'd have healthier foods, right? We can influence with the choices that we make what happens on our planet without even having the control of the money. And we'll talk about the difference between spending and making here in a minute.
Yeah, I think that's where I was confused because I wasn't thinking about like the wealth coming in, but that makes complete sense now because I was like, because I thought you were referring to like earnings more so. That's what was kind of surprised.
Yeah, so we spend 85% of the world's wealth. We work for 65% of the world's wealth, paid and unpaid, meaning we are working and not necessarily earning for the money. So we spend 85% of the money. We work for 65% of the world's wealth, paid or unpaid. And then there's the other statistic looking at that work differential in the United States in particular. This was a statistic that came out a couple of years ago, is that we're the smaller of the workforce still. We're making that those statistics don't add up. So I'd have to look at that again. Actually, I just looked at that. You're like, wait, that doesn't add up to 100%. The weekly wage is different. So women earn less, right? 81% less of what men make. And look at this. We are educated. Women, as of 2006, owned the top percent of degrees. We own the majority of degrees at every level, right? So we own, starting with the associate's degree, 61% of associate's degrees, 56.7% of bachelor's degrees, 51.6% of doctorate degrees. And today, for every 100 men that graduate with college educations, 140 women will graduate, and this continues to rise. You're like, all right, Lisa, where are you going with this? Give me a sec, I'm going somewhere with this. Millennial women, you're the most highly educated women in the workforce today. That's pretty cool. That's pretty empowering and inspiring. But then we land here. So we spend 85% of the world's wealth. We work for 65% of the world's wealth. And we earn 10% of the world's wealth. We're the most educated. We work the most, we spend the most. What's going on here? What are your thoughts?
Okay. I was really surprised because I feel like the wage gap should get better as like, the years go on, because I feel like the world like right now obviously is much better than like years before. So that really shocked me that it's only 10%, because like what you said, so like women are more educated yet men are still like making more. So it just shows how like we haven't reached like the level of equality that we would like. So that's still something that we kind of like women still have to fight for, just to be like treated and like have the same wage as men, even though they should have it if they have a degree. So that really surprised me.
Yep, that's a powerful thought. Anyone else? What lands with you about those stats? How do you feel about it? Even if you don't have any thoughts about it, how do you feel about it, seeing that? Do you feel do you feel inspired? Do you feel deflated?
I was just gonna say it makes me angry.
I was gonna say it makes me angry too, but it wasn't that surprising to me. I still feel like we still have a long way to go before something really changes. So it wasn't that surprising.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. When I look at the statistic, I look at it as insane opportunity for both men and women, right? For men, it's a wow, okay, women have a lot more control than in the spending category, at least. Women are working a lot, okay, and they're not earning what they could be earning. And it's an insane opportunity for us to get clear about what it would take as a man to increase that number up so that it is fair or that it is equitable. I'm not really a fan of the word fair as much as I am equitable. Right now it's not equitable, right? And there's work that we all have to do to get to increase that number. So at least we're at 50-50 or somewhere close to that. And for women, I feel motivated that we live in such an abundant world and we have so much opportunity in front of us. It's up to us to go get it, right? And I think that when I see that, I go, okay, cool. We've got some powerful statistics, and we've also got some insane opportunity. And let's continue to have a healthy money conversation to figure out what it's going to take to get there. So those are the statistics again. We can't afford to not invest in ourselves and one another. And I think ultimately that's what it says, is that we get to come together as a group of men and women to have a conversation about how do we improve these statistics all the way around, right? And this is one way. So the question for you, is it better to pay interest or earn interest?
Depends. Depends who you are. If you're a business and you want to be fair to your employees, you pay the interest and make sure that they're getting paid. If you don't pay the interest every 6 months or every year and give that salary raise, that pay raise, they're losing money. So the dollar rises and interest rises. And if you don't pay them what, like the raise on 6 months or the raise on 1 year, then you're telling your employees basically like, we're paying you less than what you made last year. As a consumer, you want to earn interest on your savings account and your banking account because interest rises on everything. So you want to make sure that that dollar is a dollar or a little more than a dollar.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think that what you're speaking into with companies is making sure that your employees are keeping up with the cost of inflation, that they themselves can keep up with the cost of inflation, that you're giving them a salary, or you're paying them what they need to have a living wage or to be able to thrive, right? And so with interest, and just a question for you to just keep asking yourself as you're educating yourself about money and you're earning your own money, is that it depends on the situation, but as an individual, most of the time, it's definitely in your best interest to be earning interest versus paying interest in a simplified way. And time matters. Ultimately, time matters. And I know that why I'm here is that you're young. And so if we were to look at the dollar and the value of the dollar, does anybody know the average inflation rate per year on average?
1.3.
It depends on the year, but on average, we like to say in the finance industry that we count on about a 3% year-on-year inflation rate. Things are going to inflate about 3% per year, depending on the year. Okay. So cash, when you have cash, it just sits there. And over time, if you don't invest your cash, if you just hoard it in your safe, right, or stick it under your mattress, in 20 years, how much is your cash going to be worth? You don't need to do the math. It's okay. It's going to be worth less because it's not keeping up with the rate of inflation. Your dollar loses money year after year because it can buy you less over time. Yes. So if you even put that money in a savings account or in a treasury bill or in a safer investment, and you're earning 2% a year, that $20,000 will grow. Even 2%. Will you beat inflation? Maybe, maybe not, depending on the economy, right? But in 30 years, you'll have a little bit more. But when you invest that money and you get over inflation, which is over that average of 3%, then you've got a lot more than what you started with. And that's the point, right? It's hard in a talk like this to get into too much detail, but at least you get it. Like, wow, if I invest now, my money is going to be worth way more. And if I'm looking at beating the rate of inflation, it's going to help me make sure that I keep up with my money as I'm saving it throughout the course of my career. This is another really powerful statistic. Has anybody seen something like this before? Lily has?
Yeah, I've seen something like this before, of like compound interest, it looks like.
Exactly. So this is the power of compound interest. So if you invest your money, so this person at the age of 25, how many of you are 25? Around 25? Not yet. Okay. By the age of 25, if you learned how to invest $5,000, which is less than $500 a month, and you put that money in a portfolio, and there's lots to learn there. So I'm not going to teach you how to do it today. Just, conceptually, you see that if your money starts earning you 8% per year and you stopped investing after 10 years, you'd have over $500,000 earning 8% per year. If you did nothing with it, you'd lose value over time, right? If you waited until the age of 35 to start investing, you'd have to invest way more than double what you could have invested starting at the age of 25 to make much less. And that's the power of investing. That's the power of learning how to make your dollar work for you. And we can start that conversation today. You can start thinking about, what would I need to do in my own life to be able to have that kind of opportunity? It's a little easier said than done. I get it. But this is, this is exactly why I think I'm here. Right, Sandra? Yep, she's shaking her head.
Yes, absolutely. And this is very true, because I started to invest at 25. Luckily, I had somebody sit next to me who worked for New York Life and convinced me to come to her office, and I started investing at 25, and I'm really glad that I did. And there's so many smaller things you can do to make it grow like this. And, I started with something that was an automatic thing that was taken out of my checking account. And over the years, I didn't miss it because, it was just coming out like a payment on a stereo, rather, or not, that type of thing. So it's really important. And I know that some of you right now are going, wait a minute, I'm not even making any money. But, this is something to look forward to even a few years down the road, when you start to work and you start to look at, your money.
Mm-hmm. Yep. When I got my first job at UNLV, I was 23 years old, and I had no idea about money. Like I said, I grew up on a dirt road essentially in Las Vegas. Now it's built up where I was raised off of Rancho and Cheyenne. I went to Cheyenne High School, and there was nothing around us. So Vegas has changed a lot since then, but I got my first job and they were like, pick a 401k option. I was like, I don't know what this is. I'll take this one, right? But then I steadily contributed to my 401k. And by the time I was 31 years old, I had $100,000. So little by little by little, it grows. And the most important thing to do today is to get clear on your financial priorities and why money is important to you. So then you can have a clearer path to be able to have assets. So assets are things that you own. And acquiring valuable assets in your life is what gets you on the path to wealth. And so assets are what earn you interest. Someone pays you, net worth goes up. And then in the form of a mortgage, even, you have a mortgage, you own a home, and that asset appreciates over time. Depending on where you live, it'll appreciate from 3% to 13%. And this year we've had a ton of appreciation in real estate. So thinking about in your lifetime, your money can buy you a lot of things. Women, we spend a lot of money, but we could definitely up our game in investing. Absolutely. And so conceptually, we want to start thinking about, I want you to start thinking about, well, how can I start acquiring valuable assets when I do have money, when I have a career? So stocks, bonds, purchasing land, purchasing real estate, a vehicle, those kinds of things are assets. Yep. And then we have liabilities. So we have interest. You're paying someone else interest. Not always a bad thing. I think that there's good debt and there's bad debt. Consumer debt, a lot of the times, is what I would say is not great debt. Consumer debt is the reason that a lot of clients come to me, is that they're in a ton of consumer debt, aka credit card debt, paying 20 or 30% interest, and they can't get ahead of it. They can't get on top of it. And so we don't want that for you. We want you to have fewer liabilities and more assets over time in your life. And if you don't do this, that's fine. But the magic, I think really the magic formula for you to start thinking about is that for now until the rest of your life, that you learn how to track your net worth. And again, until I became a financial advisor, I didn't know anything about net worth. And I was in my 30s when that happened. And I wish I did, but I didn't. And that's okay. I know it now and I teach others. So your assets minus your liabilities is your net worth. And if in business, you're learning in hospitality, there's another formula that you use for business finance. This is the personal balance sheet. This is how personally you can make sure that your net worth is growing. And when your net worth is growing, you're making decisions to get more assets and liabilities. And ultimately, like we've seen this year, like we saw in 2008, you're going to see over time, depending on decisions that you're making financially, you're going to see your net worth jump up and down. If you're taking on a loan to buy a home, you'll see your net worth go down. Over time, you pay that loan off, your house earns equity, and that's an asset, so it goes up. But what we want to keep the eye on the prize is making sure that over time, your net worth continues to grow, even though there's going to be highs, even though there's going to be lows, just like the stock market. That's the pulse of our life. So you want to have perspective about it, but I think it's really important for you just to track your life and your financial life, saying, okay, how am I continuing to move my financial life, my career, all that I'm doing, that it's building on top of itself, that I'm investing with people, I'm investing in the right places. And ultimately, I have an option someday to live a nice life, a work optional life. I'm not there yet. My husband's not there yet, but we're working actively toward that. And we think about making sure that you're saving, when you are saving, that you're saving for all the things, that there's a healthy balance between saving for your future. One of you spoke into that. Like, I just don't want to save for the rest of my life and have no experiences, right? Make sure that there's a balance, that when you do start managing your money and planning your money, that there's a balance, that you're saving for the fun things. You're saving to get to California. You're saving to get to to India, or wherever it is that you want to travel, but that you're also saving for the big picture. And when you start to do that, and you have mentors and people in your life to teach you how to do that, it's much easier to balance together. I promise you it is. It's totally possible. I really believe that it is. And there's different markers, right? There's different goals that you can have. You can have short-term savings goals, mid-term savings goals. So I have two students who are going to be college age. So we're saving for those medium-term goals. And we're also saving for the long term. And by saving 20% of your income, 20%, you can make a lot of this possible. You can live off of 20%, you can save 20%, and you could live off of 80% and save 20% and still make your headway toward these goals. So this is just the perfect time, I think, to start planting those seeds about how you can make it all possible. Steps to becoming money savvy: track your money. If you're looking for some tangible things to do, make sure you're tracking your money. For me, in my world, we call that, we're tracking what we're making, what we're spending, and what we're keeping. We keep it super simple in my world because I work with people who don't know a lot about money. And for me, I've got to keep it simple. So I like to teach it simple. Have a plan to start saving, practice saving, even if it's $10 a month. Just practice holding on to your money, right? That it's not all coming in and going out. Avoid high interest debt. Not all debt is bad. If you have a strategy around it, wealthy people use debt to leverage their businesses, to leverage their lives forward. Christopher, did you have a question?
I did. I'm not sure if this is off subject, but I just wanted to throw in quick. I just recently downloaded an application on my phone called Acorns, ACORNS. Basically, what that does is it links to your savings account, and it if you spend $1.60 at the store, it automatically takes that 40 cents and puts it into an account on this application. Once you save up to $5, it automatically invests that $5 for you, and it just basically is something, it's money that you don't really ever feel disappearing, but it does all the investing for you. I don't know if that was something relevant to throw in, but I just started trying it out. I'm going to see how I like it.
Yeah, I love
I've been doing that for like 6 months now too, Chris. I started it not too long ago.
Yeah, I mean, and especially for our students, I think that's a great way for them to dabble in a little bit of investing. I don't know, Emily, I don't know how much control you have over the actual investments or anything. Have you dabbled with that at all?
No, so I think since I'm doing on the basic track, you don't really have much control. I haven't seen a lot of dividend, but like you said, I think it was like good practice for me. And now I'm trying to get into other things.
It's $1 a month.
Yeah.
It's $1 a month to have the service, and it's probably good for the students to begin with, just to pull up, that rounded up cash that you're not gonna feel missing.
Exactly. No, thank you for that, Christopher. That's a great, and that is it's an app that basically, without getting into too much of the details, and if you want to do an investing class, I'll come back and we can dig into some of that stuff together and talk about some of the safer ways to start investing. What I like about Acorns is you take a risk assessment. So some of you have high relationships with risk. Some of you are not risk takers as much as others. There's different money personalities and different risk personalities. And so you take a test, and Acorns will match you up to investments that match your risk tolerance. So if you're an aggressive investor, you say, okay, I'm okay with taking risk, they'll more aggressively invest it. Also, I think you can choose certain parameters, maybe not individual stocks, but you could say, I want to be in socially conscious investing strategies. Acorns does that. And there's another one called Ellevest, ELLE. And Ellevest, they're on a mission to predominantly invest in female-driven companies, female-owned and female-driven companies. So they're another platform you can check out. Thank you for bringing that up. At 18 years old, if you started investing $50 a month, and that's all you invested for the rest of your life, you'd be a millionaire. That's the effect of compound interest, $50 a month. Most importantly is that you learn how to spend and hold on to money so that you do spend, that you do enjoy your life, that you find a healthy balance between spending. I love to spend money. My husband loves to spend money, but we have a saving strategy along with it. So we save and spend and meet our goals in harmony. And I think it's totally possible to do that. And as you think about the jobs that you're going to go for after college, the careers, the businesses that you're going to have, they're all, it's all possible for you to earn more, women, men too, right? And that there's enough out there. There's so much wealth out there for us all to live our best and healthiest lives. I really believe that. So with that, I have some next steps, learn about investing, go make money, give yourself permission to go have amazing careers, prioritize saving, track your money, make sure you're tracking your money, invest early, and find great mentors. Melissa and Sandra are two examples. We know you're here because you've got mentorship around you. And if ever I can come back and support you, let me know. I'd love to. I also want to give you a gift to my book. So you can scan this. You'll just get a PDF to my book. My book is really centered around mindset. So it's all about your relationship with money to start. And then as you graduate through my world, you stay in touch. I do all kinds of classes. I have an academy to teach you how to manage your money, all kinds of stuff. So I'm here as a resource and as a UNLV graduate, as a champion for you. And I'll pass it back to you, Melissa or Sandra. Thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah.
This was great. Does anyone have any questions for Lisa or anything that you want to say?
Yeah.
Definitely.
You can go first. Ladies first.
Oh, well, thank you. Lisa, this was also super helpful. And I do like the visual aspect of it because I feel like I get lost in trying to like help myself or teach myself. And between reading all the acronyms, I'm like, oh my goodness, especially now I'm at a point where I need to decide what I'm going to do with this 401k that I've been saving for 7 years. Well, in the meantime, before I find my next career. So I was just kind of curious what your services look like if we wanted to work with you one-on-one.
Sure. I have different levels that you can come into my world with.
Okay.
Right now I'm doing a Raise Your Worth challenge, and it's a 5-day challenge where we talk about your relationship with time, relationship with people, get you clear and aligned. I have a 90-day program about getting it together, learning how to track your money, learning how to make wise decisions with money. I have an academy where we talk about more of investing. I bring in my experts. We talk about growing wealth through the academy. And then I also have a wealth builder club. So once we get to that point and you are building wealth, I've got financial advisor who runs that for me, and we're really talking about wealth. So different levels based on where you're at, and I would support you. You can just reach out through my website, Sandra. You can give them my information. That'd be fine. And either myself or one of my money mentors will help you on your way.
Okay, that would be awesome. I would love to move forward with something just because I feel like I could use something to gear on the right path.
For sure.
Thank you so much
Love
for
to-
your time. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Brandon?
All right. So once again, thank you for joining us, Lisa. This is super informative. Everything you had to say, I loved it. One of my questions is, I actually I found your YouTube channel and I looked at your masterclass video before this. And so I noticed at the end, like you kind of talked about like, the overall steps of like how to get started, build up your safety net, build, if your employer's doing like a 401k matching, do that. And then afterwards, make smart investments. How did you start? Did you start with the stock market? Did you start with real estate? What kind of things like that did you choose to, invest in? Because I know you're talking about acorns and how you can't choose different investments. I recently have made like a TD Ameritrade account and I've started developing my Roth IRA. And so just what kind of things have you gone into as to, starting your financial journey?
Sure. Well, the first thing that I did right out of college was buy a house. So that was the first
Mama.
being a homeowner. He's saying invest your money. Just kidding. So home ownership is definitely one path. There are different schools of thought when it comes to investing. There are people that are hardcore, like real estate's the way, and other people who are like the stock market's the way. I like a balanced approach. So I started investing in my 401k at UNLV, and I bought a house. And also at that time, we were thinking about having a kid, and we eventually did. So I ended up getting a life insurance policy that grew cash value in the policy, and they invested the cash in the insurance policy too. So there are lots of different investment vehicles. I think that what worked for me the best at 25 was that I hired a financial advisor to get me on that path, so I didn't feel like I was doing it alone. So finding someone to mentor you on that path is a great idea. Stocks are great. Individual stocks are great. There's a learning curve to it though. So if you're going to choose stock, make sure that, and with your Roth, a Roth is a perfect place for any of you to get started, to be able to either have something like Charles Schwab or Fidelity. You say, here's my risk tolerance, here's my risk profile, and they match you up with funds that work in that direction for you. We didn't have investing apps when I was your age, so we had to do the good old fashioned open up an investment account, right? But investing apps, as long as you're aware of the risk that you're taking with the investments you're making, be aware of that. So not every investment app is the same. So you want to do your homework and research, but a balanced approach I think is great. The fact that you have a Roth is great, and just make sure that you're making choices in align with your risk tolerance.
Okay, thank you. I do appreciate that a lot. I have been trying to teach myself a lot independently about the stock market. So like, I'm actually pretty, I'm happy with the progress I've made in that regard, but real estate is something that I really haven't learned about at all. And my dad is a mortgage loan officer. And so when you were 25 hiring your financial advisor, what are the first steps to take into real estate? Is it build strong capital? I know like an FHA loan is going to be my best friend. So like, I just, because that's my thing is I want to get into, investment properties and have like income coming in every month from those. And what's the first thing that I should be working towards, like building capital or credit lines?
Well, yes. So if you're going to take out a mortgage for your first property, be clear if it's going to be an investment property or if it's going to be your homestead, if it's going to be your primary residence. That's going to play a determining factor. And I think how you move forward with your strategy. If it's going to be your primary residence right now, interest rates are so low, there are great mortgages out there. And the way I see real estate is you take one property, and always in investments, you buy low, you sell high. Right now, interest rates are low, but the market's pretty high. So, you could wait for the market to come down, buy a property on value, and then use that property to earn equity, and then sell the home, use that equity to get another home, use that equity to get another home. One of the biggest mistakes, and I'll close out with this, one of the biggest mistakes I see young people make is they buy a house that's way above their means, or they buy a dream house because they're trying to keep up with the Joneses or look successful, where it's really better to start small, buy a condo, buy something that you can afford and still have other money for other things. And then over time, use those properties to keep going and moving forward financially.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your time, Lisa.
Great questions, Brandon. Thank you. Okay, I have another engagement at 11 o'clock. So I'm going to say goodbye, Sandra and Melissa. I know you all have questions and things that you'll do as a group once I leave. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I love the conversation. Sandra, if any of you feel like this would be valuable for me to come back and choose another topic, let me know. And I hope you all have an amazing weekend.
Lisa, thank you so much
Appreciate your time.
for your time. It's great to see you. I know I haven't seen you in a while too, so thank you very much. And I think everybody enjoyed it. What everybody think? Dave?
Yes, thank you,
Awesome.
Lisa.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
The rest of you can stay on if you want to have any discussions or bring
Yeah,
any